Number 1.
Bonita was working as a mother's helper at Camp Wilmette in Narrowsburg, New York, when she vanished on July 27, 1973, with her boyfriend of over a year, Mitchell Weiser. Bonita and Mitchell planned to hitchhike to attend a concert festival featuring the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead in Watkins Glen, New York. The concert is believed to have been the largest in history, with over 800,000 people showing up. Mitchell met Bonita at Camp Wilmette and they set off for the concert, which was 75 miles from Narrowsburg. It is believed that Mitchell and Bonita had approximately $25 between them. They carried backpacks, sleeping bags, and a cardboard sign that read Watkins Glen. They were last seen hitchhiking along State Route 97. The truck driver who gave them a ride is the last confirmed person to have seen them. It's unclear whether they actually arrived in Watkins Glen. They have never been heard from again. Authorities initially believed that the couple simply ran off together. Bonita and Mitchell had secretly exchanged wedding rings earlier in the summer of 1973. Both were intelligent teenagers who attended John Dewey High School, a Brooklyn alternative school for gifted, high-achieving students. Bonita lived in Borough Park with her family when she was not working at Camp Wilmette. Mitchell lived in Midwood. Both Bonita and Mitchell are from stable, middle-class Jewish families. Both Mitchell and Bonita's loved ones say the two seemed ill at ease before they left for the concert. Bonita sneaked away from Camp Wilmette and went home one day the week before she vanished and took $80 which she had been saving for a bicycle. Her family was not home at the time, but neighbors saw her. Bonita was also having difficulties with the family she was working for. She asked them for the night off when Mitchell showed up on July 27 and quit in anger when they refused. She told her employers that she would come by after the concert to collect her clothes and paycheck. She was very worried about her father, who was ill and disabled. Her friends at Camp Wilmette said she cried at night when she talked about her father. Mitchell, meanwhile, was disappointed because he could not attend the college of his choice. Despite this, however, their loved ones believe Bonita and Mitchell were just having normal adolescent problems and would have never run away from home. Bonita's best friend was in Europe the summer she vanished, but she exchanged letters with Bonita and says their communications were normal. Mitchell was looking forward to taking his driver's test, which was scheduled for a few weeks after he disappeared. Bonita and Mitchell's families and friends have never forgotten about the two. Mitchell's family has kept a phone listing in the Brooklyn telephone directory since 1973 in case either of the teens decide to contact them. Years following their disappearances, Mitchell's father accepted a collect call from someone identifying herself as Bonnie. By the time the operator was able to connect them, the caller had hung up. She did not call back and has never been identified. In 2000, a witness, Alan Smith, claimed he saw both Bonita and Mitchell drown while they were on their way back from Watkins Glen. Smith, then 24, said he was also going to the Watkins Glen Rock Festival and hitched a ride on a Volkswagen bus, and two teenagers, whom he identified as Bonita and Mitchell, were also on the bus. He did not know their names but had heard them talking about the girls' summer camp and recalled their clothing. They all stopped to cool off in a nearby river when Bonita got into trouble in the water. Mitchell jumped in to save her and they were both swept away, still alive. The bus driver told Smith he would call the police at the nearest gas station, but authorities have no record of such a call being made. Police call Smith credible but wonder why, as an athletic Navy veteran, he did not try to rescue the drowning teenagers. They are investigating his account, which has not been confirmed. The driver of the bus has not been found, and Smith cannot remember the location of the river the teens allegedly drowned in. As a result, his story cannot be fully investigated. Bonita and Mitchell remain missing and their cases are unsolved. Their families have criticized the police for what they call a perfunctory investigation. The original case files have apparently been lost. Included in the files were the only existing copies of Bonita's and Mitchell's dental records, which could have been used to identify their bodies. Authorities now admit that they made many mistakes in the investigation. A new investigator has been assigned to the cases. The state attorney general got involved in the investigation in 2000. Bonita and Mitchell's families hope the additional assistance will help solve the case.
Number 2.
Patrick was last seen in the New York City borough of Brooklyn at approximately 9 p.m. on January 22, 2010. He had been placed in a foster home in the Spring Creek Development Complex, also known as Starrett City, 3 weeks before. The Spring Creek development is in 100 block of Vandalia Avenue. Patrick told his foster mother, Labrada Moran, that he planned to run away to rejoin his biological mother, Jennifer Rodriguez. A photo of Rodriguez is posted with case summary. Patrick was last seen assisting Moran with household chores. He took out the trash and never came back. He has never been heard from again. Rodriguez, who lives in the New York City borough of Staten Island, lost custody of Patrick and his 4-year-old sister for alleged neglect. She reportedly knew the address of his foster home, and her aunt claims she had threatened to kidnap Patrick. A few days after Patrick's disappearance, a judge ordered her to present her son at a family court hearing. Rodriguez didn't do so, stating she didn't have Patrick and didn't know his whereabouts. She was briefly jailed for contempt, then released after she passed a polygraph test. She still maintains her innocence in her son's disappearance, stating she believed he ran away and is hiding somewhere. Various other members of Patrick's family, including people as far away as Maryland and Florida, have been investigated in his case. Several of Patrick's relatives have accused each other of hiding him. In October 2010, Rodriguez filed a federal lawsuit against New York City, the Administration for Children's Services (ACS), Patrick's foster mother and the foster parents' apartment complex. She alleged that the ACS took Patrick from her custody without sufficient cause and that they were negligent when they placed him in an unfit foster home instead of with relatives, such as his father. Rodriguez alleged that Moran couldn't communicate with Patrick because she didn't speak English and he didn't speak Spanish, and that Patrick had repeatedly tried to run away, attacked his foster siblings, and even threatened to harm himself after he was placed in Moran's home. A federal judge threw out the suit in March 2011, but ruled that Rodriguez could sue individual caseworkers and St. Vincent's Services, the child care agency in charge of Patrick's case. In 2013, Rodriguez amended her filing to include a claim for her son's wrongful death. She stated she filed the suit to get answers in her son's disappearance. The suit was settled for $6 million in August 2018. The money will be used to aid in the search for Patrick and to benefit him if he is located alive. Patrick may still be in the Brooklyn area. His case remains unsolved.
Number 3.
Angela was last seen in the 3500 block of South Salina Street, Syracuse, New York, at 2:10 p.m. on December 26, 1979. She spoke to her mother briefly over the telephone that morning, but said she was too sleepy to talk and would call her back later. Angela's mother says her daughter sounded normal during their conversation. She has never been heard from again, and authorities don't believe she left of her own accord. Angela left behind her last paycheck. Her husband, Hubert James "Mad Dog" Allen, attempted to pick it up after her disappearance. He's the prime suspect in her case. Authorities believe he killed her on the day of her disappearance and disposed of her body. Possible burial sites include Onondaga Indian Nation Territory or the Allied chemical salt pits in the northern part of the county. Hubert and Angela used to go on dates to both sites. In October 1985, Hubert was convicted of the murder of his girlfriend, Lorraine Marshall, and their 6-year-old son, James Jose Allen. Marshall was found stabbed to death in her apartment in March 1985. James' strangled corpse was found washed up on the shore of Onondaga Lake several weeks later. Marshall had been seeing Hubert at the time of Angela's disappearance. She refused to cooperate with authorities about Angela's case until 1982, when she began making statements to investigators. Marshall stated that, in December 1979, Hubert had told her he accidentally killed Angela and asked for her assistance in hiding the body. Then he passed the story off as a joke. She said she noticed that his boots were caked with mud after Allen's disappearance. Authorities believe Hubert killed Marshall and their son because of her cooperation with the police about Allen's disappearance. He was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison for the murders and will not be eligible for parole until 2035. He will be 92 years old by then. He has never been charged in connection Allen's case. Hubert says Allen simply left him without warning one day and he does not know her whereabouts. He also said she took $11,000 in cash from their home when she disappeared and he did not believe she was dead. Angela was employed by the department store J.C. Penney at the time of her disappearance. Her mother attempted to have her declared legally dead in 1990, but she was declared legally missing instead. Her estate, including a $10,000 life insurance policy, was distributed to her 2 daughters.
Number 4.
Allen was employed as a clerk at the D&W convenience store, located at the intersection of New York State Routes 104 and 104B in New Haven, New York in 1994. A photo of the store is posted with this case summary. Allen opened the business by herself at approximately 5:45 a.m. on April 3, 1994. The last transaction was recorded on the cash register at 7:42 a.m. A passerby flagged down a sheriff's patrol unit outside the store at approximately 8:15 a.m. and reported that the business was open but unattended. An extensive search produced few clues as to Allen's whereabouts, and she has never been heard from again. The ensuing investigation revealed that Allen was most likely taken against her will from the store. Her jacket, purse and car keys were left behind in the store when she vanished, her maroon station wagon was undisturbed in the parking lot, and money was found in the cash register and on the counter. Richard Thibodeau was charged with Allen's kidnapping in May 1994, 1 month after she was last seen. Richard's brother, Gary Thibodeau, was arrested on the same charge in August 1994, 3 months later. Richard was the last customer known to be in the store before Allen vanished. He says he purchased 2 packs of cigarettes at 7:30 a.m. and left. Gary was convicted of first-degree kidnapping in Allen's case in June 1995 and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Richard was acquitted of all charges in September 1995. Gary attempted to appeal his conviction but was denied in 1999. He is expected to remain incarcerated until 2020. Prior to her disappearance, Allen's cousin, Melissa Searles, gave her a gold bracelet with her name on it. Searles stated the bracelet mysteriously turned up inside an envelope in her mailbox in 2004, but she didn't tell the police or anyone else about it for years. The reasons for her silence are unclear. Allen's abduction got additional attention the summer of 2014 when investigators dug up the floor of a collapsed cabin looking for her body. They didn't find anything in the search, however. Her mother died in 2015 at the age of 66 on what would have been Allen's 40th birthday. Allen was about to graduate from Onondaga Community College with a degree in human services when she disappeared. She hoped to get a career in education or counseling. Foul play is suspected in her disappearance.
Number 5.
Corrie was last seen at Lake City Dodge on Washington Street in Jamestown, New York on October 28, 2008. She stopped there to visit her boyfriend, then left at 1:10 p.m., driving her dark blue 2005 Dodge Caravan with the New York license plate number CX404. A photograph of a similar vehicle is posted with this case summary. Corrie missed a scheduled meeting at 3:15 p.m. that day and also didn't pick up her son for school. Items found at her home suggest she went there after leaving the car dealership. She has never been heard from again. Her car was found abandoned on October 30 in a rural wooded area off Courtright Road, south of Jamestown. It was parked near a gas well, out of sight from the road. This location is about a half-mile's walk or 2 miles drive from her home. Corrie was in the process of divorcing her second husband, Kenneth Anderson, when she went missing. They had separated approximately 2 years before, after Corrie found out he'd never legally divorced his previous wife. By the time of her disappearance, Corrie was seeing another man and planned to marry him in 2009. Corrie told her loved ones Kenneth had abused her, and she took out an order of protection against him after he allegedly placed a tracking device on her car. He was arrested in 2007 for violating that order and was placed on probation. Corrie's fiancé is not a suspect in her disappearance, but Kenneth is considered a person of interest in her case. Police questioned him and searched his home, without result. Kenneth married again, for the 6th time, after Corrie went missing. In 2016, he was charged with kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment and rape after he allegedly took his new wife from New York to Kentucky against her will, raped her, and held captive in a hotel room, threatening to kill her if she tried to escape. Anderson's purse disappeared with her and has never been located. Authorities are interested in finding it. The purse is described as black, 8 inches by 8 inches in size, with a GH base and company logo. Her keys are also missing. Her disappearance is considered suspicious, as it's extremely uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning. Her cellular phone has been turned off since she went missing, which is also uncharacteristic of her behavior. Anderson left behind 2 teenage daughters and a young son, and is described as a devoted mother. She worked from home as a medical transcriptionist and part-time as a technical assistant at the Hultquist Library at Jamestown Community College in 2008. She has been known to visit Pennsylvania. Her case remains unsolved.
Number 6.
Bacon was last seen leaving for his night shift job at Bear Manning Factory, now known as Norton Company, in Watervliet, New York, at approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 10, 1969. He was supposed to pick up his brother along the way. He never picked up his brother, never arrived at work, and has never been heard from again. Bacon's car was found abandoned on Oil Mill Hill, not far from the Waterford Bridge. His lunch was in the backseat and his paycheck was in the front. Authorities at the time assumed he'd left of his own accord, but as time passed and no one heard from him, they began to suspect foul play. It's unclear what, if any, investigation was done at the time, as Bacon's file has been purged from the state police archives. In January 2009, Nelson E. Costello was arrested and charged with murder and 2 counts of witness tampering in Bacon's case. Costello was Bacon's age and worked as a constable in Waterford, New York in 1969. He carried a gun as part of his job. Costello later moved to Prescott, Arizona. A photograph of him is posted with this case summary. In October 2008, when he realized the police were investigating him for Bacon's possible homicide, Costello allegedly contacted a witness twice and tried to stop the person from giving information to investigators. Authorities believe Costello killed Bacon in a rivalry over a woman whom Bacon was engaged to. They theorized Bacon was shot to death at Alcathy's Marina on Flight Lock Road in Waterford. They don't believe Costello was on duty at the time of the murder. He allegedly had an accomplice who helped him dispose of Bacon's body, but the accomplice cannot be charged because the statute of limitations has run out. In October 2009, on the eve of his trial, Costello pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter. He confessed that in his guise as a constable, he pulled Bacon over while Bacon was on his way home from work. Costello told him the captain needed to speak with him. He drove Bacon to an area near a public boat launch and shot him 3 times in the chest, killing him. Costello stated he put Bacon's body in the trunk of his car, drove it to Bedford County, Virginia, and buried it along the James River. It may have been washed out to sea in a hurricane that struck the area in 1985 and flooded the river. In January 2010, Costello was sentenced to 5 to 17 years in prison. He apologized for his actions at the sentencing. Bacon lived in the 300 block of Hillcrest Street in North Troy, New York in 1969. The area is now part of Shattuck, New York. He dropped out of Lansingburg High School and joined the Navy. He served in Vietnam and was a member of the Navy Reserves at the time of his disappearance. Bacon has few family members left, he had no children, and his siblings and parents are all deceased. His brother-in-law is still alive and stated he had been a father figure for Bacon prior to his disappearance. Foul play is suspected in his case due to the circumstances involved.
Number 7.
Barnes disappeared from the New York City borough of Manhattan sometime in October 1997. At the time of his disappearance, he lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Amsterdam houses in the 2400 block of West 6th Street. He had once been the building superintendent, but had retired. Barnes had raised his grandson, Matthew Lewis. By 1997, Lewis was estranged from his wife and stepchildren, and Barnes had invited him to move back in with him. A few months later, in October of that year, Barnes stopped contacting his family, and Lewis gave conflicting explanations as to his whereabouts. In February 1998, Barnes' son went to his apartment to check on him. Lewis told him Barnes was with a girlfriend. Barnes' son didn't believe him and called the police to report his father's disappearance. In January 2002, Lewis was arrested and charged with his grandfather's murder. Authorities believe he killed Barnes to take over his apartment and steal his pension and Social Security benefits. At his trial in January 2004, Lewis admitted he'd forged Barnes' name and stolen $27,000 from his checking account, but denied murder. He was convicted of all charges and sentenced to a total of 37.5 years to life in prison. 22.5 years for the murder, 10 years for forgery and 5 for larceny. Barnes' body has never been found. Investigators believe Lewis dismembered it with a chainsaw and put the pieces in a trash bin.